Here it is, mid-May. Beautiful, beautiful weather.
Definitely.
I think that means what?
Well, there's a tiller sitting here.
That's right.
And there's some dirt that needs to be turned over.
That's right. It's time to get the garden tilled.
Cool.
How many people asked us today alone? You got your garden started yet?
Yeah.
So I think that means we need to get the garden started. We got to get some of the early seeds planted because we're pretty much out of the danger of frost right now.
Definitely.
All right. I guess I know what I'm going to be doing for a little while.
Here's a little work for you.
Well, what do you say? Let's get started. That tilled up really well. It was just the right time to do it, just enough moisture in there, and the ground is really great this year. And I think we owe that all to horse apples. You know, it's nice having neighbors with horses. It really pays. So we're going to leave this sit now for a day or so to dry a little more and take one more pass to really make it fine. And then we've got to start putting some seeds in the ground. The old Troy built did it again. 24 years and still chugging. A couple of parts and that's all. I sure am glad I've got that thing. All right, it's on for the rest of our day. With the breeze today and the sunshine, that soil worked up really well and it dried up nice. So I decided to get at it and give it a second pass right away today, and it is really workable. We can get in here this week now and get some of the early things planted like corn, maybe get some beet seeds in, some lettuce planted. Sometimes when I'm gardening up here, I'm not sure whether I'm gardening or if I'm just rock collecting, because tons of these rocks are showing up. They show up every year. We fill a couple of drywall pail buckets full and dump them in the woods. And that's the way it is up in this area. I no more than got things put away, and here comes a brief thunderstorm. Sunshine and rain all at the same time. That's springtime in Wisconsin. And with that, the rainstorm is over. It's been a few days since I tilled the garden, a couple of passes, and got it partially smoothed out. So today I took the liberty of smoothing out the dirt again with the rake and picking up some stones in an area just a few feet wide. I'm going to do a little bit of planting today. Today we're going to plant some sweet corn. And you always want to plant sweet corn at least a couple of rows to help support each other, cross-pollinate. So what I've done is I've established a row, an equal amount of distance from the lawn, the edge of the lawn and the garden, to both of those stakes, and then used a string that I've had set up for a long time with a couple of metal stakes, pushed them in. And I was taught by my father years ago that unless things are planted in a perfectly straight row, they won't grow right. So that's what I've done. I've established a straight row. And because it's sweet corn, we want to stagger the planting. we don't want it to all be ready at the same time. So what I've done is I've marked with my hoe along the string a track for the corn seed, and I've made marks a third of the way each way. So today we're going to plant corn in 2 rows, 1/3 of the way up the row, and then in another week or two we're going to plant another 2 rows of corn, and then a little bit of time after that plant 2 more rows. That way we'll keep getting sweet corn throughout the season. So I took the liberty of getting all of that done ahead of time. What I'm going to do now is mark the second row. What I need for sweet corn are rows that are about through 2.5 feet apart. So I'll just lay the tape measure down here, get 30 inches, pull my stake, go down to 30 inches, push it in, move the other stake, 30 inches, push it in. Now I'm ready to take the back end of my hoe, the handle, and mark a line for this row. We'll come back after I get that done. There, I just found another nice rock right in the bucket. We need to plant this corn roughly 9 inches apart in the row, 1 inch deep. Well, I've got a trench that is 1 inch deep, a little over that, so I don't need to push the corn in very far. I have 2 varieties of corn. I'm going to plant 1 variety in each row. That way it gives us a little different flavor, a little different texture of corn. So what I do is pretty easy. I plant 2 per spot just in case something doesn't come up. I'm going to start here, and my foot is about the distance I want those seeds to be apart. Just keep working my way down the row till I get to that 1/3 mark for this row, and then we'll do the other row. I have the first third of the row in, switch varieties. Now we'll plant a third of the second row. Same process. Second row of corn is planted using the same process but a different variety of corn. And I have the seeds put in up to that 1/3 mark. I'm going to pull up the string, cover these up, and we'll move on to the next thing. With the corn covered up, I can start on the next thing, and that'll be beets. We like to have beets. We freeze them, and I like to pickle a few beets in the fall. It's always a nice thing to have, and you can plant those fairly early in the year. So I've moved the stake over 2 feet from that last corn row and moved it down on the other end. I'm going to mark that row now, and then we'll plant a few beets. And we'll do the same process as with the corn. We'll go a third of the way because you can keep planting beets so they keep coming in later and later. Beets need to be planted just a 1/2 inch deep, very shallow, and just a couple inches apart. And that way they can be thinned if they do get a little too thick. And I put them about a hand width apart Just sort of eyeball as you go where your hand is ending up. There are a lot of little shortcuts you can do to make this go quickly. There, I had just enough seeds to make it to the marker down there for the third of the row. Seeds are in. Very light covering. Again, about a ½ inch deep is all you need for beets. Take the rake, tamp that down a little bit. I'll do the same for the corn. And there, the beets and the corn are planted. All right, last thing today, we're going to plant some lettuce. Plant lettuce, kind of like beets and corn, a little bit throughout the season, so there's always some fresh lettuce. Again, this is our lettuce plot, and I have it set up so it's close to the edge of the garden, so it's easy to pick the lettuce when it's ripe. I don't do anything fancy with lettuce. It gets planted very shallow, like 1/4 inch or less, so, and I don't make rows. I just take some of the lettuce seed, and this is a variety mix. We like the variety mix, different kinds, and I just, between my thumb and my finger, spread some seed out around the area, almost like planting grass seed. And then I'll get a couple more varieties and sprinkle just a handful of seeds into those. Break this over and we'll be all set. I want to make a special mention of the row markers we've been using for the last couple of years. These are very handy. Put an adhesive label on there, right on there what's in that row, whatever description you want. They hold up really well. They are called biomarkers. The name of the company and the web address are on the label here, and I'll put a link to the web address in the comments, in the description for today's video. Another thing we do every year when we plant the garden is we have a map of what went where. Very useful in case you have any question what you planted, what variety. And then next year, when it comes time to plant, you don't want to plant things in the same place they were the previous year. So now we use this to decide how to shuffle things around. We hope you've enjoyed today's video, found it useful. And if you're planning on putting in your garden, it gets you off to a good start on doing that. Again, if you enjoyed what you saw today, click like and subscribe if you want to see more of our videos in the future. And we ask that you please go back and take a look at some of our old ones. Thanks for watching.